Hi and welcome to the Atheist Dominion. My name's Rob. You know, there's a tiny minority of people who believe that there was a worldwide mud flood triggered by unknown means that engulfed towns and cities around the world sometime perhaps in the mid-19th century. There's no consensus as to when this mud flood occurred, but for the sake of this video, let's go with the mid-19th century, as that seems to come up in a lot of other people's discussions on the topic. Either as a consequence of or a direct part of this mud flood, there was a civilization reset instigated by those favourites of conspiracy theorists, the evil elites. Exactly who these evil elites are has never been revealed. However, the main culprits seem to be either the Jesuits, the Masons, aliens, Satan, or a combination of all of them. So this civilization reset was a break with the past, a forced new beginning for humanity, orchestrated by those evil elites to hide their nefarious dealings. It is also supposed to have greatly reduced the human population around the world. Some mud flood proponents believe that the majority of the people left after this civilization reset were primarily orphans, left alone to repopulate the world with no knowledge of what came before them. Looked at logically, a civilization reset would mean that there would be a huge gap, in fact a total gap, in the documentary record. A period of time when all records and documents suddenly vanished right across the world for many years, decades even. I mean, wouldn't it take decades for these orphans to grow up and begin to relearn all the things that they had to in order to survive? Now, is there such a gap in the documentary record from the mid-19th century or from any point in the 19th century or the 18th century? No, there isn't. There isn't such a gap. Now, there's so many avenues that we could use to investigate documentary evidence and to see if there's a gap, but for the sake of this video, let's go with genealogy. Genealogy is the collation and study of birth and death certificates, marriage certificates, oral histories, genetic analysis, and so on to establish lineage, i.e. who you were related to and how. Genealogical, or more precisely family history research, is a popular pastime for millions of people around the world, me included. Think about it. There are millions of people right now studying and analysing old documents about their family history and sharing their research with other people around the world. And it's not just birth, death and marriage certificates that genealogists use. They also study shipping records, old photographs, military records, criminal court records, old maps, public works records, old newspapers, journals, immigration records, old letters, ecclesiastical records, manorial records, census records. These resources are not isolated entities, they're all connected. Everything can be cross-referenced. That's how genealogy works. For example, a name on a shipping manifesto can be linked to a person who arrived in a country on a certain date via immigration records. That person then got married and had several children. His wife and children show up on marriage and birth certificates. Maybe he joined the military and so there'd be records of his service there. Again, everything is connected and the life of just one person can be tracked across the decades. The same with his children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren and so on. So do you see what I'm saying? We can track a person across their life. With all that in mind, where is the civilization reset? The very first census in Britain was conducted in 1801 and has been conducted every 10 years since then. Literally every 10 years there has been a census taken in Britain, and by studying the details in those census records, we can see how families begin, when the children marry and start their own families and so on. It's all there in the documents. It's an unbroken record. For example, here's a printout of my family tree as it currently stands. One generation after another, all connected, stretching across time with absolutely no break. Each person, each generation has evidence of their existence, where they lived, what their occupation was, when they married and when they died. Just for my family alone, there are dozens and dozens of documents I've found already, with many more for me still to track down. Therefore, since there is no break in the genealogical record, when is this civilization reset supposed to have occurred? And there's something else we need to take into account as well. If there had been a civilization reset connected with this mud flood in the last 150 or 200 years, with only orphans mostly left, then we would have what we call a genetic bottleneck. This is where a huge population is suddenly greatly reduced and only a few survive to carry on their genes. Such an event would clearly show up in the DNA of all living persons today. However, we simply don't find a genetic bottleneck caused by an event within the last 2 centuries. Clearly, this civilization reset does not show up in the genealogical and genetic records. But please, if you have solid evidence of this reset, leave a comment in the comment section below. What we do have is an unbroken connection of old documents that all link together, crossing centuries and continents. And there's countless millions of documents out there still waiting to be scanned, digitized, and made available for public research and analysis. So please tell me how this civilization reset worked. Who instigated it? How did it happen? When did it happen? And why is there no gap in the documentary evidence to show that this civilization reset occurred? Just saying that the powers that be are lying to us and that history is fake doesn't count as evidence. You can say it, but it doesn't mean anything. Like I said, if you have actual evidence, please leave a comment below. And one of the amazing things about genealogy is everyone can do it. You can do it. All the information's out there. You just start studying and collating your documents and photos and family oral history and things like that, and you can start to put together your family history. So if you think there is a civilization reset, at some point you must hit a gap in the documentary record. But you won't find that gap because there is no gap in the documentary record. All right? I assure you, I've been doing genealogy for many years now, and I've never once come across some void that lasts for 5, 10, 15, 20 years where there's suddenly no documents. That gap doesn't exist, at least I haven't found it. So genealogy disproves a civilization reset. So thanks very much for watching, appreciate it. If you like my videos, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you again soon.